The trial world. The twin suns of Vorther Prime scorched the blood-soaked sands of the arena, casting long shadows across the jagged rock spires that surrounded the pit. High above, in ornate metal towers carved from obsidian and bone, dozens of alien dignitaries watched through reinforced glass. Their eyes, slitted, compound, multifaceted, glinted with anticipation. Today, another primitive would die. A low hum echoed as gates creaked open and the next challenger was dragged into the arena. Two armored Vortheri guards shoved the figure forward, bare-chested, bloodied, wrists bound by a thick plasma chain. A collective murmur rippled through the watching crowd. The creature was human, slightly taller than most galactic species. He walked with shoulders back despite the grime and bruises. His skin was marked with scars, old and new. A fresh gash bled down his side, but he didn't flinch. His eyes, dark and sharp, scanned the arena with a predator's calm, not a prisoner's panic. A silvery, insectoid alien clicked its mandibles beside a gelatinous ambassador. "They sent that thing?" it hissed. "Let them amuse us," the Vexery replied, oozing amusement. "It will scream better than the Thorlac did." In the control tower, Overseer Ress, a wrinkled Tharn bureaucrat, raised his claw. "Release the beast." From the far gate, the sound of mechanized locks disengaging filled the air. The ground trembled. Spectators leaned forward. The doors exploded open. The Threxelodon burst into the sunlight, a monstrosity of claws, muscle, and bone plating. 12 feet tall at the shoulder, its hide was a twisted patchwork of chitin and sinew. Its twin maws dripped acidic saliva. The apex predator had claimed 17 lives in past trials. It had never known pain, never known fear. Until today, the human didn't scream. He didn't run. He smiled. Cade tilted his neck until it cracked. His chains hissed, plasma disengaged. The guard scrambled back, not out of protocol, but instinct. He charged. In the observation box, gasps echoed. "What is he doing?" a Solarian warlord exclaimed. "Insanity," a Tharn elder whispered. "They sent a berserker." Cade dodged the beast's first strike, a massive swipe that shattered a boulder behind him. Dust and stone exploded into the air. Using the momentum, Cade launched himself forward, slamming a closed fist into the Threxelodon's exposed joint beneath its shoulder plate. A sickening crack sounded. The beast shrieked. Blood sprayed across Cade's chest. He rolled under the next swing, grabbed a jagged rock, and drove it into the creature's left eye. The predator stumbled back, clawing at its face. He heard it, an aide gasped. Cade didn't stop. He pounced, landing on the beast's back like a jungle cat. One hand gripped a ridge of bone. The other repeatedly slammed a broken fong, plucked from the arena floor, into the base of its neck. The Threxelodon bucked, roared, but Cade held on. From the towers, the mood shifted. "He's not just fighting, he's calculating," said the Vexery emissary, visibly pale. "He's dissecting it alive," a Tharn whispered. Below, the beast threw itself against the arena wall, crushing Cade beneath its weight. The audience exhaled as one. Silence. Then movement. Cade rose from the dust, bloodied, limping. His shoulder hung out of place. With a grunt, he slammed it against a stone pillar, setting it back into its socket with a sickening pop. He turned to face the creature again. The Threxelodon hesitated. It had never hesitated before. High above, Overseer Ress leaned in, his spines twitching. "This shouldn't be possible. It's a human." "No," whispered the Solarian general. "It's a problem." Back in the pit, Cade spat out blood. His lips curled in a grin as he whispered. Round 2. The Threxelodon roared, desperate and enraged, and lunged. Cade met halfway. Anatomy of fury. The air exploded as flesh met force. Cade ducked low, narrowly avoiding a swipe from the Threxelodon's claw. The beast's momentum carried it forward, stumbling, and Cade surged upward like a coiled spring. His fist slammed into its jaw, not once, but 3 times in rapid succession. The third hit cracked something internal, making the monster shriek with a pitch too high for a predator. The alien dignitaries leaned forward in disbelief. "His physiology is primitive," A Tharn biologist muttered from the observation deck, its eye stalks trembling. No augmentations. No enhancements. He's just human. But he's doing this with no weapons, barked a Solarian war captain. Not even armor. He is the weapon, came the cold reply from shadowed corner. In the arena, Cade circled. Every breath came ragged, but controlled. Every movement was deliberate. Blood from both combatants painted the cracked red stone beneath their feet. Flashbacks flickered through Cade's mind. Not of fear, but training. Years ago, during Earth's off-world reconnaissance project, he had volunteered for the Zero-G Adaptive Combat Program. Black Ops training, where soldiers were stripped of tools and forced to fight in hostile environments using only instinct, anatomy, and grit. Out of 200 candidates, 2 survived. The other had died 2 months later on a mission in the Vorn Spiral. That left Cade. He had been forged in pain, shaped in silence, and perfected in war. The Threxelodon charged again, this time faster. Its jaws opened wide, revealing 4 rows of jagged teeth. Cade pivoted, gripped the lower jaw mid-lunge, and slammed his foot into the beast's chest, bracing. Muscles flexed. Tendons screamed. The audience held their breath. With a guttural roar, Cade pulled. Tearing sounds, wet and violent, ripped through the arena as the lower jaw snapped with a visceral crack. The beast howled in agony, staggering backward, blood gushing in pulses. "Impossible," gasped the Realac diplomat, mandibles trembling. "That joint is built to crush rock." Cade didn't stop. He dove toward the wounded predator, pummeling its exposed throat. The Threxelodon thrashed, claws digging trenches in the dirt, but Cade stayed locked on. Each blow was surgical. He was dismantling the creature, piece by piece. Inside the control tower, Overseer Ress's voice trembled. "In the trial. This had gone too far." "No," said a low, commanding voice. All turned to look. The Vexery matriarch, wrapped in layers of iridescent silk and gold, never broke eye contact with the human. Let him finish. Back in the arena, Cade wrestled the beast onto its back. Dust clouded the air. Blood painted his chest like war paint. The Threxelodon's remaining jaw snapped wildly, but its strikes were panicked now, clumsy, desperate. Cade straddled the beast's chest, raised his fists, and began to hammer. Again, and again, and again. The thuds of flesh on chitin echoed across the Colosseum. Alien faces turned pale. Even the most war-hardened spectators averted their eyes. It wasn't just a fight. It was an execution. A reel began playing in the minds of every military strategist watching. If a human could do this to a Threxelodon with his bare hands, what could 10,000 of them do? 1,000,000? "We need to review Earth's classification status immediately," said the Solarian aide to their commander. "They were listed as Tier 3. "They're not Tier 3, the commander said grimly. "There's something else." Cade's knuckles were raw, skin torn, but he didn't stop until the beast was still. Chest heaving, he stood. Blood dripped from his arms. His expression was blank. Cold. Not a trace of pride, just confirmation that the job was done. The message was sent. High above, dozens of alien eyes watched in total silence. This wasn't just brute force. It wasn't madness. It was discipline. It was precision. It was humanity unleashed. The Threxelodon lay broken, twitching once, then never again. Cade turned and looked directly at the nearest observation tower, and smiled. The breaking point. They did not cheer. The arena, usually roaring with triumph or jeering with bloodlust, was silent. Even the wind that swept through the jagged stone walls of the trial pit seemed hesitant, as though wary of drawing attention from the thing standing in the center. Cade stood over the corpse of the Threxelodon, drenched in its blood. His shoulders rose and fell with slow, steady breaths. Around him, the crimson-stained sand steamed in the sun's heat. His fists, cracked and raw, dangled at his sides like weapons still waiting to be used. High above, in the council observation tower, the alien dignitaries remained frozen. "He killed it," the Realac ambassador finally whispered. "With his hands." "He didn't kill it," muttered the Vexery matriarch. "He broke it." The beast tried to run near the end. It recognized something in him, something worse than itself. An aide stammered, We need to call for an emergency Concord meeting. Humans must be reclassified." A deep voice cut through the panic. "We may be too late." All eyes turned to General Covis, a Solarian strategist whose species had conquered 3-star systems through cold logic and brutal efficiency. He stared at the human below, fingers steepled. "We labeled them as emotionally unstable, technologically inferior, barely post-orbital. But this," he gestured to the scene, "this wasn't madness. This was method." Silence. Then murmurs. "Do we contain them? Do we court them? Or do we destroy them before they become dominant?" Below, Cade approached the far edge of the arena where the handlers stood. The guards, armored, armed, twice his size, instinctively stepped back. One dropped his weapon. The other lowered his gaze. "Open the gate," Cade said. It wasn't a request. It was a command. The gate hissed open without a word. In the tower, Overseer Ress stood shaking. This trial was not meant to be a test for us. But now, every species watching is asking the same question. "And what question is that?" the Vexery matriarch asked softly. He turned to her, voice hollow. "What happens when humans stop playing along?" Later that night, Galactic Embassy, Sector G5. Cade sat alone in a reinforced medical unit, the hum of nanite injectors repairing his fractured knuckles. Earth's diplomatic representative, Ambassador Liu, stood behind a translucent barrier, watching the feed with equal parts awe and unease. "He doesn't sleep," said the medic bot beside her. "Why not?" "Unknown. Cortisol levels are high, but stable. Adrenal output should have collapsed his heart hours ago. We can't explain it." Ambassador Liu stared at Cade, remembering what Earth had once called him during the Mars uprising. The last scalpel. The soldier they dropped in when they didn't want the war to escalate, just end. Quietly. Permanently. Cade didn't look up. He spoke as if he knew she was there. "They're scared now." Liu swallowed. "Yes. Very." He stood, bloodied bandages still clinging to his torso. "Good." Vorther Council Chamber. Emergency session. Alien leaders gathered in holographic form, flickering and arguing across systems in real time. Panic laced their words. "They're savages. That man killed one of our apex species with primitive means. Imagine if he had weapons. Earth must be sanctioned, or studied, captured, before it spreads. They have hundreds of millions of males in peak reproductive range. What, they're all like him?" General Covis interrupted, his cold voice silencing the chatter. "You misunderstand the danger. It is not that they are all like him. It is that enough of them are." A pause. Then, the Realac ambassador leaned forward. "Then we must act." The Vexery matriarch narrowed her glowing eyes. "Yes, but not with weapons." All turned to her. "With respect," Covis said, "how else do you contain a species like that?" "You don't," she replied. "You negotiate. You flatter. You bribe. You pray they want peace more than they want vengeance. Because if they don't..." She gestured to a screen, replaying the image of Cade holding the shattered jaw of the Threxolodon, blood steaming from his skin. "There will be no stopping them." Arena grounds, morning after. The corpse of the apex beast had been removed, but blood still stained the earth. In its place stood a marker, a monolith carved from obsidian, etched in over 50 languages. Here fell the Threxolodon, undefeated until it met a human. Tourists, scholars, and soldiers would visit it in the cycles to come. Some to marvel, others to warn, and every one of them would see, deep at the bottom of the stone, a phrase written in a language so old it had nearly been forgotten. "Do not provoke the sleeping giant. It remembers." The monster we woke. The diplomatic hall aboard the UGS Rook, Earth's envoy vessel, was unusually quiet. Behind its thick alloy doors, representatives from 12 alien empires had assembled. Not a single one sat comfortably. Not anymore. Holographic displays floated between them, looping raw footage from the arena. Frame by frame, it showed Sergeant Mason Cade ripping the Threxolodon apart with his bare hands. The Realac ambassador twitched nervously. This must be an anomaly. A genetic throwback, perhaps. We cannot judge a species by its outliers. Ambassador Liu, Earth's representative, remained composed. Outlier. She tapped a control pad, pulling up a dossier. This is Sergeant Cade's record. He's one of thousands trained in survival and close-quarters combat. No implants. No gene mods. Just grit, conditioning, and experience. He's not the exception. He's the standard of his division. Several envoys shifted uncomfortably. General Kovis, the Solarian strategist, folded his arms. We underestimated you. No, Liu corrected, her voice calm but firm. You misunderstood us. She stepped closer to the center of the room, letting her voice echo. You saw our fragile appearance and thought us weak. You saw our chaotic politics and assumed we were fractured. You saw our technology and called it crude. Her eyes met each representative in turn. But you forgot the most important detail. We adapt. We endure. And when necessary, we fight. No one interrupted. You brought us here to observe your trial. Liu continued. You thought it would humble us, that your apex predator would remind us of our place. She pointed at the screen, still displaying Cade's final blow. Instead, you've reminded yourself that we earned our place. Not through luck, through fire. A long silence passed. Then, for the first time, the Kvathi speaker, a race that had remained quiet since the incident, leaned forward. Its voice was barely a whisper. What does humanity want? Liu considered that, then offered the answer Earth's leaders had carefully prepared. Respect, trade, partnership, a seat at the table. And if we deny you, a pause. Liu smiled gently, but it didn't reach her eyes. You saw what one of us did in your strongest arena. Just imagine what we could do if we ever stopped holding back. Vorther Prime, 1 week later, tourists had already begun to arrive. The black stone monument in the center of the arena drew crowds from across the quadrant. Alien scholars took scans. Pilgrims prayed before it. Warriors posed beside it for holos, vowing to prove themselves worthy of the same feat. But none of them touched the monolith. They said you could still smell the blood in the dust. The Vorthri architects added a new layer to the inscription. Let this mark the first time a human stood before death, and death flinched. UGS Rook, combat deck. Cade sat alone on the observation deck, staring at the stars. His hands were healed, but the scars remained. Not from the beast, but from Earth. He didn't enjoy the killing. He never had. But he'd do it again if it meant keeping his people alive. Ambassador Liu approached, holding 2 steaming cups. Coffee. Cade took it with a grunt. You didn't have to come all the way down here. I did, Liu said, settling beside him. You changed the galaxy last week. He exhaled slowly. Didn't mean to. That's the problem, she said, looking out the viewport. You didn't try to make a statement. You just survived, and it terrified them more than any speech ever could. They should be scared, Cade muttered. You've seen what Earth can become when it's cornered. Liu nodded. That's why they're going to offer us deals now. Treaties. Partnerships. They'll try to keep us close. Cade raised an eyebrow. To control us? To contain us, she said. Because every empire here just realized they've been playing with matches in a room full of fuel. Council broadcast, classified transmission. Across the stars, in sealed chambers and encrypted war rooms, a message was sent to every major power. The footage was simple. 12 minutes, raw, unedited. Cade, covered in blood, wrenching apart the galaxy's most feared predator. A single line of text followed. Re-evaluate human threat index. Immediately. Epilogue. Earth, classified military archive. Deep beneath the Arctic Circle, in a vault known only as Red Cell, a silent figure watched the same footage. General Halvorsen, Supreme Commander of Earth's Unified Forces, sipped black coffee as Cade's fight replayed for the 100th time. He turned to the young intelligence officer beside him. Status. Galactic Concord is opening formal diplomatic channels. Multiple empires want joint operations, tech trade, and cultural exchange. The general grunted. So they're afraid. Yes, sir. He turned back to the screen. Cade, jaw clenched, standing over the corpse. No, he said quietly. They're starting to understand.